crisis caregiving. That's what we're going to talk about today, is how to avoid crisis caregiving. So in this video, you're going to learn what happens after a hospital discharge, what are the different levels of care that are available, how to plan before the crisis hits, red flags to watch out for, and how caregiving roles change depending on the level of care needed, and then how do you choose the right path for your family. Thankfully, we have Kari with Amada Senior Care who's here with us today. She's going to help walk us through all the different options.
Well, thank you for having me, Tabitha. I'm excited to join in this conversation.
The truth is, most families wait too long to have this type of conversation. They wait until a crisis hits and suddenly everyone is on the phone, researching, Googling, calling all their friends that they can, saying, I didn't know this wasn't covered. This care is how much money? How do I get into this? Kari, you and I get these phone calls, complete crisis mode every single day, right?
Yes, and they often need help today. They're so far down the crisis, it's exploded.
Some of this care takes time to set into place, and it's not something that can just be available today. So this is why I think it's so important. I'm so happy that you're doing this with me so we can help prepare families for this.
Absolutely. Hospital discharges can happen with surprising speed. The thing you have to remember is the minute you're admitted to the hospital, they are planning for your discharge and you need to be planning too. If you haven't already planned, which is, I think, kind of the point of this we'll get into, is before you go into the hospital, you should already have a plan in place for what your next steps are going to be. And the key takeaway is that you can be surprised to learn that you're discharging within a few hours. There's no obligation to give you a lot of notice. You have to kind of be prepared at every step of the way for whenever that discharge notice comes.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you said to me once that's always stuck in my head is the discharge process of a hospital starts the moment you walk into a hospital. They are already writing those papers and trying to figure out how to push you out as soon as possible.
And just because they're not having the conversation with you doesn't mean they're not having the conversation. There are a lot of challenges when someone is discharging. There's so much confusion. You're handed a big pack of paperwork. You're a little nervous about what your next steps are going to be, if you can handle the person you're taking home. The most important thing is to really read the discharge instructions and ask questions. Sometimes the doctor tells you one thing and your discharge papers don't say that. So you may need to ask some questions about that. Really drill down on the medication. You're probably on different things in the hospital, but what about your medication at home? Do you still take that? Where are you supposed to get it? Do I need to get this medication here at the hospital? Is it prescription been phoned in? With this, we see a lot of challenges with medication. So that's something I would really review. A lot of times too, someone is discharged without adequate support, or now a family member is taking on the burden of additional care for someone all of a sudden. And it's not that you don't love your family member. It's just that you have a lot of stuff going on too. And this is kind of a surprise. It happened all of a sudden and you weren't prepared.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really extra important because it's a sandwich generation. So you have people who are working full-time jobs. They also have children that are involved in activities. And then all of a sudden they find out a loved one, often a parent, is getting discharged from the hospital, as we said, within hours. And what are they supposed to do? Like, how do they take care of them? Are they going to be sent to a facility? Are they supposed to come home? And it's that crisis, I need an answer now moment.
Yes.
There is a 70% chance that you are going to need care at some point. That's just statistics. And I think a lot of people stick their head in the sand and they say, it's not going to happen to me, or I don't want to plan on this because it's a sad topic. And so many people just avoid it. But statistically, you're going to need care at some point. So just accept that and plan early. Start talking to your family members. Ask your loved ones, what type of care do you want when the time comes? And then you express to your family the type of care that you want. Talk to your doctors before you need the care, especially if you see something that's coming up that may be an issue, especially with a loved one. Should we start planning for the next stage? Who should I be talking to? Are there facilities that I should tour? And start building a a care plan. That care plan that you want, it really should be in writing. It should be fully fleshed out. If this happens, this is the type of care I want. If this situation happens, this is the type of care I want. It's so emotional, first of all. It's a very emotional moment, and it's financially stressful, emotionally stressful, physically stressful. And having to guess on the type of care that someone wants in the moment of all that heightened emotion just makes it so much worse. The number one thing, Kari, you and I both say is plan early so that those transitions are a little bit easier on everyone.
These are some of the care options that you can consider, and you can plan for these in advance. We're going to talk about these a little bit more in depth, but we've got home care and home health, assisted living and memory care, skilled nursing and nursing homes, both short-term and long-term stays, and then how palliative and hospice care can fit in with all these other options as well. Home health and home care are actually two different things that are often confused. Home health is considered medical. This is often covered by your insurance. It's having skilled care come into your home. And skilled care is physical therapy, occupational therapy, nursing. They can do things like, make sure your wound is healing or help you regain some strength in your own home environment. In-home care is non-medical or otherwise often known as caregiving. So these are people that can come in your home and help with the activities of daily living. They can assist with personal care, things like bathing, dressing, toileting, fall prevention. They can help if you have someone with some cognitive impairment with supervision. They can also do all those things around the house that you might all of a sudden be too weak to do. It's hard to fix a meal with a walker. They can help with meal prep. They can help with light housekeeping. They can, do laundry. They can take you to run errands or to your doctor's appointment. So this can be a really important piece of maintaining your independence and staying in your own home safely. And these two things can go hand in hand. Oftentimes, if we're in the home doing caregiving services, home health will be in there also, at least short term, for some rehab.
So one of the things that I see with this all the time too is confusion when it comes to this is often people will get in-home medical after they've gone to like a rehab stay or they've been in the hospital, and someone will come into the home and will help with some of the things like wound cleaning and things like that. But loved ones and caregivers are shocked often. That person also does not help clean the house, help them take a shower, help them with food. And they're often very angry. Like, why would this nurse come in and not help my mom feed herself and bathe herself? But that's a distinction, right? They're not allowed to do that. Those are two very different roles.
It's two very different roles. And another key distinction is most in-home care is private pay or long-term care insurance or some veteran benefits, whereas the home health is covered by Medicare often. And that's why I think that they're so strict, right? It's medical care. That's what they're there to do. That's what Medicare pays for, is medical care. And that's why they only cover those very particular skilled sets of services. One of the benefits of home care is that you can be in your familiar environment. Oftentimes people really improve when they return home. Things are familiar. They know how to get around. They just feel some peace. A lot of that confusion kind of goes away that maybe they had in the hospital or the rehab setting. They can also maintain their independence and some dignity with some support at home. You can increase it or decrease it if your needs change. If you're declining, add more hours. If you come home from a broken hip and you recover, then you can cease the services and continue to live your life as you did before. And another key factor is often much more affordable than long-term placement in a facility or even in assisted living. If you need a few hours a week can help you be home successfully, it's going to be much more affordable when you're talking about all these private pay options. A skilled nursing facility, short-term rehab. This is often the place you'll discharge to straight from the hospital if you need kind of that in-between step before your goal is to go home, but you just need to regain some strength. Medicare pays for your stay here. Again, the thing you have to be aware of is it has to be a 3-day hospital stay, and Medicare is evaluating you the whole time for how long you're going to stay. You can't count on going for 100 days. It's not like that anymore. So you really need to be in touch with the social worker or the case manager as to how you are progressing. If you're not progressing, the insurance is going to say it's time for you to go home. If you're running laps around the building, the insurance is going to say you're ready to go home. Just be aware that just like the hospital, you can go home quickly.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to skilled nursing, this is something that's so confusing to people because the part of this that Medicare will pay for is rehab services. And what we see all the time is someone is not improving. They are at the point to where they can't improve anymore. And that's when Medicare stops paying and sends them home or says they have to go to another facility that is very expensive. And this is so hard for family members because they're angry about it. Like, what do you mean you're sending my mom home? She can't walk, she can't feed herself. But yeah, that's how Medicare works. It's no longer rehab, it's considered long-term care, and Medicare doesn't pay for it. And Lord, that's a crisis moment we see a lot.
I cannot tell you the number of calls I've gotten that they say, someone says, how can they send my mom home? She can't walk, she can't get out of bed. She's not going to. You're having to face some realities there yourself, as is your mom, but that's what ends the rehab portion of your stay. So that's one of the keys Tabitha and I are trying to press home today, is that's why you have to prepare.
So just like where we talked about, rehab services is more for short-term rebuilding skills. Nursing home is more for long-term. This is like complex needs. You need 24/7 care, around the clock facility stay. So this is another one of those that people are just not financially prepared for. So it'll come to the point to where there is no one at home that can continue taking care of them, either because family members are working full time and they're just not available, or the care has advanced to the point that it's medically necessary for them to go into a facility. And then they find out Medicare doesn't cover it. It is private pay, and it can be very expensive. You know, it could be anywhere between $5,000 to $12,000 a month to go into long-term care needs, or they have to apply for Medicaid. And this is where, again, the family caregiver role shifts to where maybe you're trying to figure out, how am I going to get into my parents' bank account to pay for all this stuff? Or, you know, sometimes the children are involved as supervising the care and setting it up. Other times it's just complete crisis management. And so this is another one of those things to where if you don't plan properly for this, you're stuck maybe going through court systems to get to be in charge and make these healthcare decisions and financial decisions for them. This is not something people just want thrust upon them.
Assisted living can be a great option for some individuals who have financially planned for it. This can be either you have someone who needs a little bit of extra care they can't provide for themselves at home, and maybe you're concerned about them taking their medications, or nutrition is a big one. They're eating Little Debbie cakes and not eating 3 regular meals a day. There's a lot of social aspect to assisted living. So if someone is isolated at home, maybe they've lost a spouse and they're not getting out, this can be great because there's a lot going on in the community that they can get involved with. And the socialization, as we've learned over the years, is such a key factor in how someone thrives as they age. Mm-hmm. Memory care is for people with Alzheimer's or dementia, and it gives them some extra support. Usually it's a locked unit for safety. All the other people that live in there are having the same issues. So everything is geared towards them and what their needs are. It is very expensive and something you're gonna have to plan for in advance. One thing I can say though, you can go tour assisted living and memory care units today, even though maybe you wouldn't plan on that for another 10 years. You're under no obligation to sign up with somebody now or make any decisions. But if you go take a look and take a few tours, they're happy to do that for you. And at least that will kind of let your wheels start spinning, both in the things you like and don't like and what the financial situation is going to look like. So palliative and hospice care are two really valuable services that are often misunderstood. It's even a sensitive subject to bring up with families a lot of time, as Tabitha and I have both found. But these two things can pair up with a lot of the other options that we talked about. Palliative care is for when you need some additional support, but you don't have an end-of-life diagnosis. You can be in palliative care for years. You can still have your own doctor. You can still have home health or be in assisted living, and they can just give you some extra supportive services. Hospice care is when you have an end-of-life diagnosis. Typically, it's 6 months or less, but it doesn't mean tomorrow necessarily. Everything's covered in this case by your Medicare normally, but they can come in and offer some bathing. They're great for advice advice. And this is something they help families through this journey. Most people in this palliative care and hospice have huge hearts, and they're there to help and support you along the way, whether you're at home or assisted living, or even in a long-term care facility. Hospice care can come in and work with you.
I think one of the biggest tips that we can give with this is don't wait to call hospice. I think so many people are afraid to call because it's like them saying that my family member is ready to pass away at this point. But hospice can be involved for 6 months or more. I mean, it's a great organization that takes a lot of stress off the family, and they can help you avoid a lot of these crisis moments by calling hospice early and getting them involved.
And they can do an evaluation and tell you you're not a hospice candidate yet, or maybe palliative care is right for you, or vice versa. You may call palliative care and they may gently suggest hospice. I mean, it's just resources to help you.
So when we recognize that the chances are very high that you or your loved one is going to need this care, again, it's a 70% chance that you will need care at some point. We got to ask, have you talked to your family about it? Have you started the conversation? A lot of people don't know how to do this. You can use an experience that a loved one or a friend of yours has gone through and start with values, like what's important to you? How do you want to be cared with? If you're having the conversation with a parent, you don't have to start it up with like, oh, do you want to go to a nursing home or what do you want? I mean, that's a very emotional way of doing it. And I think, unfortunately, that's often is how it's brought up. But instead, talk about like, oh, would you prefer to age at home? Or what's important to you if this step should come? And include them in it while they're able to participate in it. I know for my future, I would prefer to make those decisions today while I'm healthy, while I'm able to think about it, and not in the fog of confusion that can come with illness and when I'm scared and stressed. And having those conversations early make a really big difference. And plus, again, it's you deciding the type of care that you want and laying a plan out instead of having the only type of care that's available being thrust upon you. It's really about preserving your independence. So many people are afraid of having this conversation, but it's really not as difficult as people think once you bring it up and start talking about it. Often the parents are afraid to bring it up to the children, and the children are afraid to bring it up to the parents, but usually both parties want to have the conversation. They're just not sure how to bring it up.
And I think a big part of that conversation is if you're including your children in the conversation, because they may be able to say what they can and can't do, which helps you in your planning. And something else I see is mom said that she never wants to do XYZ, or mom's refusing to do this. Well, mom's needs have changed drastically. But if you've had that conversation before, like, yeah, this is all well and good, but what if you get to this point down the road, mom? What would you want to do? Or, well, mom, I have 3 kids and I work 60 hours a week. So realistically, you could move into my house, but I'm not going to be there all the time to take care of you. So, when you're both healthy and not under stress is the time to say what both of you are able to help provide for support.
To emphasize again, we don't want you to wait until these triggers. We want you to plan ahead, but some of the triggers to where it's like, hey, this has happened. This is serious. We have to start planning now is a hospitalization, especially if it's a serious hospitalization that's going to involve a lot of care later. Falls. Everyone falls sometimes, but sometimes that fall is a sign of a bigger issue. And so really paying attention to tripping and falling, and maybe it's a sign that something bigger has happened and overall mobility is changing. Loss of a spouse. Kari, I know we see this all the time to where both spouses have declined in care, but they're able to work as that team and people don't notice. And then now that one spouse is gone, it's like, oh, there's an issue here.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a really big one. And often that loss of a spouse is also when you start noticing that cognitive decline that the other spouse was helping to hide. So if you start missing appointments or odd banking issues. I know for me, a lot of my clients start noticing the change because bills start going unpaid. That is another one of those really big things. These are like red flags. You have to start making some decisions now and start having conversations. You're on the brink of a crisis. It is time to start planning.
In a lot of the families I talk to, Tabitha, it's the hospitalization and the fall is the first of many. I get mom's been in and out of the hospital 6 times in the last year. This is mom's 4th fall. When you hit that first one of any one of these things, that's really your big sign like, we've got to really think about what our next steps are.
So when it comes to being proactive and really looking at that checklist of things that you need to start doing, the first step is really identifying what future care may look like. You got to be honest about this. You have to really look objectively at the situation and be honest. Is there cognitive decline? Has there been any falls lately? And start talking about modifications that can be made for that, or if something bigger needs to be done. And meet with professionals, meet with your attorneys, meet with long-term care specialists, meet with in-home care providers, tour facilities, talk to doctors. Don't just rely on someone's going to tell me what to do, because that's really not how it works. You often have to seek out guidance on the proper way of doing this, or at least finding the most cost-effective way of doing this. I know any elder law attorney will tell you it's a whole lot cheaper to plan in advance than have to hire an attorney to fight through the court process, because none of this stuff was put in place. And explore all options. There are so many things that are out there. You don't know what you don't know. And if you've never looked into this before, chances are there's a lot that you don't know. And really keep your family informed with these conversations. Talk about it with siblings, with other family members. What often happens is one sibling is kind of in charge of all the decisions, and it's a lot. It's not fair for one person to carry all of this and be stuck making all the decisions. So really be supportive and have this as a family conversation. So we do have some helpful tools to help people go through this. And just as a reminder, again, the best time to plan for a crisis is before the crisis hits, and there's always going to be a crisis. So why not just go ahead and plan today? We do have a long-term care planning guide that's available in the comments. It will help you understand what Medicare covers and what it doesn't, and the different options that are available to cover long-term care services. There is also some questionnaires that are in there to help you understand what you can afford and what steps you need to take next. We do have a private Facebook group, WV Medicare Questions, where we offer a lot of free resources that are available there. And then anyone can call us at any point and schedule a free planning session, 681-340-1377. Kari, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can get in touch with me at Amada Senior Care of West Virginia. It's amadawestvirginia.com, or my number is 304-693-2500. We're happy to help with any questions, in particular regarding home care, which is our main area of expertise.
Kari, thank you so much for doing this. I think this is just one of those really needed conversations. I hope we inspired a lot of people to start planning and not wait until the crisis.